of our nation and our national security. We've referred this matter to the Department of Justice, which has opened a criminal investigation. House Foreign Affairs Committee member and Army combat veteran Corey Mills joins me now. Congressman, always great to see you on the program. But, based on some of the chatter that we're hearing, some people are saying this could have been an American, especially when you look at how it appears to be altered. Do you think this could have been an American leak?
Well, I think that we need to wait until the investigation comes forward, but it certainly could. One of the things that troubled me the most, though, is that when I go into a SCIF and I'm looking at top secret or SCI documents, these documents are not only numbered, but they're recounted once we leave the SCIF. Before we go in, we're checked to make sure we don't have electronic devices so that no photos can be taken. So I'm still trying to be a little bit cognizant of how exactly does this continue to happen within the DOD. And remember, this is not the first time that there has been leaks or intentional releases that were illegal. We also had where there are multiple conservatives who are running either in congressional races or who are incumbents who had their Air Force files actually released to the Democrat oppositions. And so we really need to get control on why the Department of Defense continues to have these leaks, continue to have breaches in their security platforms that can endanger the lives of not just those in the intelligence community, but even our allies abroad.
Right, and it makes you wonder, with all of everything that's happening, are we ever going to know who was behind the leak? But we have to get to this. The U.S. is challenging China by sending a Navy destroyer through waters claimed by Beijing in the South China Sea as China carries out simulated strikes around Taiwan for a third straight day. Look, I get it. We have to show strength to China that we would take up for Taiwan. But do we really have the resources right now, Congressman?
Well, I think that we can definitely look at mustering up the resources and trying to build up the industrial base. It's certainly something that I've had multiple discussions within our Armed Services Committee as well as for our Foreign Affairs Committee. But let's go ahead and paint the facts here. You've got a USS vessel who has done continual joint operation training with the Philippines and has for decades, who are in maritime waters that is not violating law. And it's ironic that the very country who just intentionally flew surveillance balloons over America, violating our U.S. airspace, collecting intel, and now we know that it was not blown off course but intentionally driven the way it was, is trying to talk about violations. This is also the same nation who is currently violating the Taiwan Straits median line by sending dozens of ships while it does simulation models on how it would strike and attack the sovereign nation. The Chinese are an adversary, not an ally. And America needs to realize that not only are they attempting to eliminate the U.S. dollar from the global currency, as we're seeing with even the recent discussions with the French president that is now advising Europe to decouple from the U.S. dollar, but they're advancing their Road and Belt initiative. They are utilizing Russia as a proxy in Ukraine to expand the Eurasian border. They've taken Africa with regards to its portage and railways and are pillaging the resources off of it. They have taken Oceania, which is what their real goal is, to cut off Western Hemisphere supply chain. And meanwhile, they're continuing to advance their goals because they see weakness invites aggression. And they saw that since the botched Afghan withdrawal. So we have to stand strong against China. We have to look at decoupling from China. And we have to start getting everyone else to recognize what their goal is as the next hegemony.
Mm-hmm. And now to this, Jon Stewart had a tense exchange with Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks, questioning the Pentagon's $842 billion budget, while some service members are on food stamps. Listen to this.
If you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think? I'm not saying this is on you and that you caused this, but I think it's a tough argument to make
sure
that
I didn't cause it.
We got out of 20 years of war and the Pentagon got a $50 billion raise. $850 billion to a department means that the rank and file still have to be on food stamps. Like, to me, that's corruption.
Congressman, your thoughts. What do you think?
Well, the bottom line is the defensiveness of the Deputy Secretary really speaks volume, especially when the DOD at this time cannot pass its own audits. So I agree with Jon Stewart when he talks about the fact that when you have appropriations and allocations that are there to buy equipment or to buy certain types of gear and assets that you can't account for any longer, that is waste, and it does qualify under the waste, fraud, and abuse. But further to this, they talk about the increase in salaries with the 4.6% increase last year. Well, that doesn't even meet the rate of inflation. And so when you're talking about the fact that we have 12 and 13% rates of inflation on average household goods, you're invisibly defunding the military. We need to do more about food insecurity. We need to ensure that our military members are properly paid and their salaries are sufficient. We need to make sure there's enough base housing or there's allocations around there. We need to look at child care, and we need to look to a better quality of life for the men and women who are actually willing to go into uniform and go into harm's way to defend and protect this great nation.
In no way, shape, or form should the American military, not one member or their family, be on food stamps. Congressman Corey Mills, thank you for your time this morning. Have a good day.